is Pilates a particularly good form of exercise for what we're experiencing right now? A lot of that comes from the history of how Pilates developed. Its founder was an asthmatic, and part of his formative period where he developed his exercises was spent during the 1918 flu epidemic. And so he was both personally familiar with the consequences of not being able to breathe well and being sickly as a result, and saw that in others at the time he was developing his training program. He was particularly proud of the fact that no one in his training, who was training with him in the internment camp he was in at the time, died. Whether or not that had anything to do specifically with his method is something that we don't know, but we do know that these things influenced a lot of what he felt was important during exercise. And we can certainly use these breathing techniques now to build rib cage resiliency, the ability of all the small muscles that assist us with breathing to work well, both by allowing flexibility in the spaces between the ribs and strength in the muscles of breathing themselves. So we're going to take a look at a couple of examples of how we might use breath within a Pilates class that can be particularly beneficial things for all of us to be training right now. So the first thing that we might do is place the body into a position where there's some compression to the front of the body, which is going to open breathing into the back. That can be a harder area for us to identify. So that might start simply with a warm-up where we are curved forward over the legs and focusing on expanding the breath into the back. And we would take this into other breath-driven exercises like the rolling like a ball, where we're in that compressed position and we use the inflation of the breath to move the body. We also have chances to focus on the lateral, the sideways expansion of the ribs and opening those spaces. So letting the ribs fan open. And an exercise like mermaid might be an example of that. We can inhale for length. Exhale over. Focus on these ribs fanning open as we inhale into one side and then re-engaging the obliques to come up. Inhaling while we're there. And then strengthening the obliques as we come up, because the obliques are going to be part of that forced exhale that we need to really fully clear the lungs. And then our last example might be the breathing that is used in the 100. So I know I've changed in my classes recently not always doing a smooth breath, but going back to the staccato, a little bit more forced breath pattern. So again, we'll have the spine inflection, which is giving us a chance to open and breathe into the back of the body. And versus how I would traditionally teach this. So the staccato breath pattern is a great way to focus on a strong use of the diaphragm, the muscle that is intended to be the driver of our breath cycle. And that breath pattern even has some resemblance to other breathing techniques out there that focus on quick forced exhales. So if you have seen one of those, you might find that this is familiar, but something that was developed long before some of those were in existence. So bottom line, Joseph Pilates knew the importance of breathing. It is the first principle of the Pilates method, whether you're practicing a contemporary version or whether you are working within a classical practice. And definitely something that we can all use right now, even just to oxygenate our blood, relax us from the stresses that we're experiencing, and hopefully also make our lungs stronger so that if we do experience an infection that affects the lungs, we have strong muscles to help us bring in an air out of the body so that it can work for us in an optimal way. I hope that you found this information and history lesson on Pilates either interesting or useful. I invite you to add some of these techniques to your movement practices and join us at Breathe Pilates Place for a Pilates class on the mat if you'd like to learn more. And you can do that from home through our Zoom virtual classes. We keep our class sizes small so that you can ask questions and receive feedback just like we would do in the studio.